Greetings, all. Welcome to Vibes with the Archives. I am Vanna.
I'm Kimmy, and today's topic will be on affirmations. Did you want to get started on what your favorite affirmations are, Vanna?
Well, firstly, what an affirmation can be. Really, an affirmation is just a line of word or script that you repeat to yourself that just affirms something, as it says, affirmation. So, like, an affirmation could be, I am powerful, I am beautiful, I am enough. Or an affirmation could be something as, like, fluid as, okay, looking at my vision board on my wall here, I pursue my passion with confidence. That's one of the affirmations that I have on my vision board. An affirmation is really just something that, as it says, affirms a concept or a notion inside your mind. And the affirmations work very heavily with the law of attraction.
Absolutely, definitely heavily with the I am affirmations lines up with your chakras, and each individual chakra has different affirmations that you can affirm and align yourself with and ground yourself with.
I am affirmations are incredibly powerful. In 2019, when I when I started incorporating affirmations into my meditations and my spiritual practices, I listened very heavily to Jason Stevenson on YouTube and Spotify. He is one of my favorite guided meditation artists or
I
speakers.
agree. I had him recommended to me by my therapist. So yeah, I like him as well.
Yeah, the I am affirmations, they are very simple but powerful, and they can be repeated over and over again to just instill that shift in your brain, because at least in my personal experience with them, knowing how my brain inputs the sensory information that I receive from, like, the words that are in my music, the current media that has my attention, these things very heavily influence my energy, mindset, and attitude during that time. For example, when I was in high school, I watched a lot of, like, reality TV and sitcom shows, things like that. So it would be like my nightly routine to come home and watch, like, Family Guy or Dexter or other things like that. And I found myself being angry a lot of the time. Whereas transversely, if I was watching, say, Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch, um, I would have a very inquisitive mindset and I would be looking into things very deeply. And I just called it, when I was in high school, being a media sponge. But knowing what I know about energy now, I was resonating and taking that in to my frequency. So when I was watching things like Dexter and I would see unaliving incidents from the perspective of the person instigating the incidents, it put me in a very angry and volatile mindset, which did not play well when I was in high school. So, being more consciously aware of the media that I was consuming, I saw a shift in myself when I started listening to these I am affirmations. And it was quite incredible for me to have that personal shift in what I was putting out there internally.
That's an that's great perspective and a way of how it can bring about differences in our life of what we put out there into the universe and what it receives back to us and what intentionally we are consuming and putting into our bodies. um, from affirmations and to anything really, as you stated, from media to what we state to ourselves. I also liked Jason for another reason is he had placed on his thing the Honopono prayer forgiveness prayer as well. And we were going to go deeper into that on like what differs from prayers and was the difference between affirmations with learning that as well. And knowing that with the affirmations of saying like I forgive myself and I love myself and thank you and thanking yourself with this prayer and a way to remind yourself that you're doing your best. And I really felt like that one stuck out to me a lot when I went through. It was like, I'm sorry. I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you. And that's another type of way of affirming yourself is um, giving yourself those reassuring pep talks is if you don't feel comfortable with the I ams or because you haven't made your way up there yet with affirmations. I don't remember who originally did it, but I did see a lot of other readers online calling them affirmations to ask the universe to guide you in a way of how is everything working out in my favor? How do I make others, um, glow? How do I help others in my life? And it's like, how do I listen to my intuition more? Like asking the universe to show you the way is another great way to affirm yourself until you are comfortable. Because I know at the beginning, the I am affirmations, at least for my rebellious and inner teenager, when I was starting affirmations and stuff like that, you get a little, an eye roll or it's relatable. It's relatable if you're not quite there yet, and it's okay to not be there yet. So with affirmations, I feel like that's a comfortable step in between. But for those who are ready for that powerful statement, I am, I have, I can, you can do it all. And it really helps to affirm, and it regulates your nervous system too, is something that I really learned when I went through from having PNES, which is a non-epileptic forms of seizures, and I would have them constantly. And with the affirmations of telling myself I am in perfect health, like Louise Hay was recommended to me by my therapist as well, because I went through my journey to get to affirmations through science, actually, and then to therapy, and then back to spirituality as I was when I was little. But affirmations and affirmations can really help your nervous system because that's regulation and resonancy and grounding. Grounding is just as important as taking action, and um, it can be very beneficial. And what about you with the songs or affirmations? Are there any that really stuck out to you, Vanna? Because
Oh, absolutely. First of all, I absolutely love your story. I was enthralled right there. I am going to look very much forward to getting to know you on a deeper level with these. That's incredible. And I love the journey that you went from like logic to science back to spirituality, and it really
I'm
is
really
just a
much an alchemist. I
we both
really am.
are. And
Yeah,
to alchemize something, to change it like that, it very much pulls in the energy and the strength that goes into those I am affirmations. Like
I
you stated,
haven't
even when your
had
voice
one.
shakes.
I haven't had one in like years, like but I used to have them all the time, and it would scare my partner, and like I couldn't shower by myself, and it
Yeah.
was a whole. It was a whole thing.
Yeah,
Because
we're
I
gonna
went
have to
through.
do an entire episode on how energy affects you in the body because in the past 2 years of processing a lot of trauma, I have not only dropped an incredible amount of weight, but I
Oh, I
have,
did too. I
I,
went up. I used to be like under the BMI when I'd live with my family because I could tell you like how one affected me, and I was underweight. And there was people when I first got away from my parents. They were like, "Wow, you look really healthy now that you've eaten some." And then I ended up with my ex, um, and then I blew up. But like I think honestly, at the same time, my body knew to protect itself because I
mhm.
put on a lot of weight so that if I didn't have all that weight, his hits probably would have affected me more.
And it's similar thing for me. I've gotten one message from my spirit team that I was very much protected in my high school years from like teenage pregnancy or
Yeah.
SAing events because I was very undesirable to people, and that seeded a lot of
See,
insecurities
that's
in
not.
myself. That
See, that's not. That's the opposite for me because I thought that was the case. But like that's why I got big too, was the things that happened to me when I was young, and I thought that that would make me less
mhm.
desirable, and then it still kept happening anyway. And I'm like, okay, well, what's the point of this? And they were like, if you would have got hit by that big dude who was 6'4", big fucking rugby kid, you wouldn't have made it. You're 4 foot, 5 foot fuck all, and you would have been 3 sheets to fucking the sails on a fucking Viking ship. Burial girl, you would have been buried. And I'm like, true, true that. I do have martial arts, but I wouldn't have had anything to throw behind it.
No, if you don't got the muscle, it's not gonna land. But
Yeah,
it, I
yeah. If I got the muscles, but I got nothing to throw behind it when someone's coming at me with pure fucking rugby, no.
yeah. That's another thing. It's like how opposite our journeys to this point have been. It's going to be a very interesting contrast. But like
Yeah, that's how I was
I've dealt with
when you
a
said
lot
it.
of insecurity issues that I have very recently been able to process with doing visualizations of looking at my child self, looking at my teenage self, standing up for my child self, giving my child self the strength to do what they needed to do in that moment, and the incredible amount of healing that I have done. When it comes to songs being affirmations, there was, to answer your question earlier, there was one very specific song called Acceptance by Jenna Green, and absolutely love this artist. She is incredible and very heavy in my Celtic music playlist. There's a line in that song that says, I need to have acceptance in myself. And at the time in my life when I first heard it, I had that kind of blase of like, yeah, of course I would like to have that. I was too hurt at that time to understand the impacts of those words and what it was saying in myself. And only a few months later, after doing guided meditations, visualizations, a lot of journaling, so much journaling and grounding work with taking hikes in the forest and venting out these issues to the trees, because that is one way that I have learned to alchemize the storm inside of me when I feel all of those emotions and all of that energy and frustration. And I don't want to put that on the people in my environment, and I don't want to hold it inside. So I go to the forest, usually by myself or with my soul companion, that is my mom, and
Mhm.
I will just vent it out to the forest and the
Oh yeah,
trees. And
I do it all the time. I'll go. I have designated trees that I go until I had a backyard at least. I used to have designated trees to go to, but now I have my own trees in my backyard, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm here.
yeah, I when I
That's
lived in
beautiful.
Illinois, I had a tree in my backyard. That was my spell tree. That was my connection point, and everyone wanted to cut this particular tree down because
Thanks for me too.
it was rotting from the inside. It had mushrooms and fungus and things growing out of it. That was
It's
honestly probably
very
my work.
tree.
Yeah, it was probably my work that was getting the mushrooms into it. But songs are very powerful for me personally. Music is a very powerful affirmation tool for me. There are moments where I'm in an angry time of my life and I'm listening to a lot of heavy stuff, stuff that is defensive, stuff that is offensive, and the words that I am singing with the level of energy and conviction that I am singing it, I am embodying that level of frustration, that level of rage. Here's an example. In Epic the Musical, there is a line in the song Monster where Odysseus is really coming to terms with how much he has basically screwed over himself and his crew by being too kind and too gentle to these things.
Yeah.
And there's like all this weight from like the men that died because of him, learning that his mother died when he was out on this journey. And there, when that saga first came out, I was also dealing with a lot of stuff personally. And so like the energy and the notions of the guilt and the shame and the despair that was inflicted upon and by Odysseus, it affected myself and my mom in a very deep way. We're like, ooh, like I can't listen to that right now because it's hitting too hard, it's hitting too close.
Yeah.
And so when you have that level of awareness that the music that you're listening to and the media that you're consuming is influencing your vibe and your energy, there's this there's this juxtaposition of, at least in my case, of what I allow myself to watch, what I allow myself to see to protect my energy, but also like there comes a point where you have to understand and dip your toes into that lower vibrational or darker energy, because I mean shadow cannot exist without light, and it is part of
Know
the
thy
human
enemy.
exactly, know thy enemy. Like I purposely avoid watching things that I think are going to make me uncomfortable, that might put me in a strange energy, or I just feel like I'm not gonna like. It's like, ew, like literally last night I watched the movie The Lost City on Netflix with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum.
Okay.
And looking at the trailer for this, and I'm like, this is gonna suck so hard. But I watched the full 2 hour movie and I loved it. It was hilarious, it was spoofy, and it was exactly what I needed in that time. So the level of like awareness I have in myself of respecting my own energy, but also pushing myself outside of my comfort zone, it's a very difficult balance to do sometimes, because you only grow through discomfort and exploring those things that you haven't quite seen before, but also you have to ground yourself.
Yeah, of
And
course. You gotta indulge in pleasures, but not let it become all consuming.
exactly. And you have to hold yourself accountable for where that line is. And that's very difficult.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It depends on who gets infected, affected, I should say, by that frequency, because everyone's base frequency is different. That's like um wanting to raise your vibrational level, but like here's the one. One of the affirmation meditation videos that I listen to, it's just them saying F that in different
I've
tones.
seen those.
Very, very lulling that. So like, is that low vibrational? Maybe. But is
Well,
it
but
going
that's
to clear the energy of where you're sitting at now? Yeah. So like to some people you can look at it and be like that's low vibrational. But if someone's lower than that vibration and that's what brings them up to at least that level, let them cope. I'd rather them have coping mechanisms than be left not coping.
I absolutely love that because it does, like, it reminds me very much of how people judge and have preconceived notions of like dark goddess energy. So,
Yeah, and what's spiritual and what's not is they don't want someone who's fake. The universe isn't looking for actors. There's enough
oh
of that.
God,
They have
no.
their masks on. They want us to be
Half of the
authentic.
actors are reptiles anyway. That's a whole other conversation.
I know, I was like, bro, you're skipping a bunch of episodes right now, but I'm for it.
Foreshadowing. No, like
um,
spirit
this is
wants authenticity, and authenticity means that sometimes it's ugly, but that's not something that we need to shy away from. Like, we have to experience the full extent of all of our
oh,
emotions.
you can't just be spiritually bypassing. That's like takes all the fun out of transmuting the energy.
Exactly. Like, we can't sit in meditation all day. Like, you have to
Besides,
actually
there's
live your
movement
life.
meditation. There's movement meditation. There is. It exists. You can move. I promise you, people
Yes,
out there.
there's
I promise.
drawing meditations. I do walking meditations. When I'm in the woods, those are walking meditations for me.
Mhm.
I do drawing meditations, water meditations, shower meditations. Those have been very powerful
Cooking
for me.
meditations. You can get lost in the sauce for real.
I love doing cooking. Like, the first time my mom taught me kitchen witchery was for a New Year's. So I'm Southern. There are certain things that you have to have on your table and on your plate for New Year's dinner. You have to have black eyed peas for health, you have to have collard greens for wealth, and you have to have cornbread for comfort. And I remember, so like I've been a practicing witch since I was about 10 years old. I was starting to take it a lot more seriously and develop it into a more spiritual connection when I was 16. So around between those years and starting to learn how to cook, my mom taught me about a very simple visualization that you do when working and cooking with your food that makes it, it's like what everyone says, like your mother's cooking is the most amazing. It's like
Well, because the secret ingredient is love. No, for real. People out
exactly.
there, if you are upset, give yourself the extra moment of affirmations. Listen, put on some hurt frequencies or something like that to get your vibration level because you will taste it. You will taste
Hmm.
that. You will taste it. It's not nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love that you get the love inside your meal. That's amazing.
that's something that my mom taught me. Like when you have the collard greens and you're pulling them off the stem, you're pulling away the um ooh, what's the words? The lack mentalities about around money, the thoughts that you don't deserve money. You're pulling that away. That's not going into it. And then like when you're
Yeah.
cutting it up, you're like, I am wealthy, I am abundant, I am going to have a prosperous year. And be descriptive with that. Like talk to yourself with it.
I do that when I'm walking up the stairs. I'm reaching new heights and when I'm unlocking the door, I'll be like I'm unlocking opportunities and when I'm relocking it, I'll be like I'm secure and just doing those little affirmations, like just
Hmm.
doing the little affirmations as you go along, it really helps with the mindfulness and meditation and affirmations can actually help regrow the gray matter inside of the part of the brain that helps with regulation and memory and recall and stuff like that. So it is really important affirmations on how it really helps the body fully on the inside and outside. Um,
That's really
one of my
awesome.
favorites was when I was trying to do just like with what you were saying, like the you're I'm abundant and wealthy. I was looking up um, wealth and good luck affirmations, and it led me to a song by Morgan St. Jane or Saint John, it might be. I don't know. It might be French and it's Saint John, but it's either way. It's called Energy Lucky Me. And it's like it's amazing. I really enjoy listening to it, and it talks about call it illusion or ego, call it whatever you like. I'm on my own vibe, watering seeds from the tears that I cried. And it's like she's like, I'm making fans of my critics. Like that's affirmations. You're speaking over yourself. And
Hmm.
I think that's the big difference between praying and affirmations is you are speaking over yourself. You are the god of yourself and no one else. And when you are praying that someone for help. You're praying for help, which is good. I believe that everyone deserves help. So I think for me personally, in my humblest opinions, that's how I feel is the big difference is when you're asking for help from the universe compared to your affirming your own self. Like you're speaking over yourself. You're like, no, I'm going to do this instead of being like, Spirit, help me do this.
No, I
And I,
absolutely agree. I was actually just reaching that same kind of point myself, just like, no, for real. Affirmations are when you're talking to like your higher self, your subconscious. You're affirming, because like that's one way that you can transform that relationship that you have with your subconscious. Like every single thing that you say about yourself is stored in your subconscious, and they don't understand things like sarcasms. And like if
yeah,
you've seen Inside Out 2, the impact of a sarcasm on the brain, it's very profound. It ripped through a central part of Riley's memory storage, creating this massive chasm that cut off the flow and the train of thought to the back of the mind because she made a joke that she didn't really mean. It was inherently contradictory to the truth that she was telling herself.
I
Because
really do enjoy that.
I love
Sorry.
Inside Out. Inside Out and Inside Out 2 are like one of mine and my mom's favorite movies.
I was gonna say that's one of my favorite retelling, like readaptations of the quote by Bruce Lee stating the fact that yeah, when you are speaking, it when you spell, it is putting a spell over yourself. It is spelling. And
And
when you speak over yourself, your body doesn't know the difference. That's the quote, is that your body doesn't know the difference. So when you're speaking spells over yourself, you should speak kindness. And I love that. Yeah, yeah, I do love that they did a very good job of that in Inside Out.
but like it's an excellent segue into the next part of counter affirmations. What people so casually say, like, what's the worst that could happen? You may even be saying that out of a place of optimism, but you're asking spirit, God, the universe, whoever it is you talk to, whoever it is you have that connection to show
It's
you
giving
the
them
worst
permission.
case scenario. That's
You're
what
giving
you've
them
asked.
permission.
Exactly.
Oh,
And like affirmations work so much with free will, which is our greatest blessing and our heaviest curse here in this world.
right,
Is
and they put it right out there for us to see, right out in the open that
But
it is true.
they don't tell us the power of it. But when we speak about the power, people are like, "Oh, you're overthinking it." And like I got that
Actually,
all
like,
the
they'll
time.
do it for the opposite. They have it. It's the number one trope inside of well, not the number one, but one of the many tropes
It's in like the
inside of
top 5.
movies when they're like, oh, probably definitely top 5, where they're like, you mean, it couldn't get any don't even say it. Were you gonna
No,
say
no,
worse? Because it
no.
starts raining and everything else like that, and sharks come out of nowhere. It's like it couldn't get any worse. Like that is a counter affirmation, and they put it in everything. And I'm like,
They
that's
really
not
do.
fair, guys. Can you make another one famous?
I think that's changing a lot in media these days, but there's a lot that needs to change in media. The Yeah, like that difference between affirmation and prayer. Affirmation is so deeply internal, and prayer, you're asking for that extra hand. Uh, and then like
You're
it
asking for co-creation. That's all you're
exactly.
asking to
Thank you for
co-sign.
connecting the thought that my brain wasn't computing. It's like we're doing
Sounds like we're psychic.
co-creation. Psychic, psycho, same difference.
But yeah, you want the universe to co-create with you. It's like co-signing off on an idea,
Hmm.
and you're like, "Yo, universe, I'd really like this to happen. Can we help me help you help me? Yeah, we
Yeah.
can do this."
I've had so much of that in like readings that I've done and readings that I've received is that spirit doesn't want to be put on a pedestal. Yes, we are all children of the universe, and many people are just beginning their journey of learning and understanding this part of themselves. But when you have that confidence in your soul and you have released that trauma from your root chakra that makes you feel insecure, that fills you with that lack, you are in resonance with the universe. You are on level with the guardian angels and divine deities that have walked beside you, worked with you your entire life. And when you recognize energies like the Morrigan or Hecate or Lilith as your equal, as your sisters, and in the form of brothers, you at least for myself personally, I have Apollo, there is Pan, there's a lot of Odin and Cernunnos and Hephaestus and those sorts of energies on my team. And when you look at them eye to eye, they have so much more respect and they can work so much more with you because it's not just let me learn from you. 444 for me right now. Um, it
Mhm.
it's not just let me work with you, let me learn from you like it is when you put them on a pedestal. It's like, okay, how can we do this? How can we work this? And the biggest thing about co-creation is that people need to understand is that it's not just prayer, 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 or work, work, work. It's both of them. Another one of my favorite movies is Princess and the Frog, and I relate so very much to Tiana. But one thing people I don't think have connected is that the reason it was so much harder for her in the song Dig a Little Deeper to see what she needed to see is that Naveen was in the ego of a prince, but it was very shallow and superficial. When he saw something very real that he wanted, i.e., Tiana, and her authenticity and her passion, it was a very clear shift for him where he needed to go. But Tiana was one person that worked it up into her ego, into her mindset that she had to do all of this. She had to build the restaurant. She had to do all of this work for the sake of her father, for the sake of herself. She had this ego and guillotine above her that is self implied that cut her off from actually living her life. And that is why that story is one of my favorites. Not only is it just the incredible music and the place that it takes in, it's that wonderful balance of being superficial and being incredibly hardworking and how they need to come together and work with each other to balance each other out in that.
And don't talk to the shadow man. It's
Don't
close
talk
practice.
to the fucking shadow man.
It's a close practice, okay? Leave it alone.
No, for
But
real.
that
Like
is very good. I
I have an
love it.
incredible respect for the New Orleans culture and practicers of voodoo. I ain't touching your shit. I ain't touching your shit.
Exactly. That's all I said. I was like, close practice. I love you.
From a
Respect.
distance.
Oh, yeah, right? Like, it's like, keep respect and distance. That's the best I could do, guys. Um, but another one for me, with the affirmations and having those I don't even call them working with them because like I call them my friends, and that was from the very beginning. During my journey, I ended up coming along a false mentor who did not want well for me, and
Oh yeah, I've met a couple of
fairies,
those.
yeah, and fairies and stuff like that. It's went down that he wanted me to start worshiping the deities, and wasn't ready yet. And I said if they were going to work with me, they would wait
Mm-hmm.
and they would be my friends only. I was like, I will not worship you. I was like, and no, I won't do it. I was like, we be friends. You want to see me learn? You want to teach things and not gatekeep knowledge? Cool, I'm here for you. If you want to gatekeep knowledge, get out of my way. Uh,
I love
and
that. And they really do listen. Like, that's what they are
they did.
always listening.
With Bran, he was the first. Well, he's probably the not the first one, considering I've been astral traveling since a young age and had different
It's the
ones
first one
come
you
through.
recognized.
But it's the first time I like accepted it because I had many people ask me, "Are you psychic?" Before, like one of my friend who practiced for a long time, green Wicca, wanted me to as well. I was like, "No, I'm not going to practice is anything until I've decided what is all true." And that was always my statement. I was like, "I believe in everything, but I will not believe in a set thing until I have decided and learned everything is possible."
No,
And
I completely agree with that. That's why I've changed a lot about how I introduce it myself. Like, I practice as a witch, as in like I followed Wicca as I when I was younger, but I am a spiritualist. My beliefs, my energy, it all changes as I develop. I am not limiting myself, and I certainly don't want any constraints of a
right?
religion. And I get
But as
there are people that need
yeah,
that comfort.
absolutely. You can call yourself whatever you like, and don't let them hate on you. That's not my intent. I'm just stating the fact that that's what makes me feel comfortable. That is how I personally felt with developing with them. A lot of people get the calling and recognizing, and we'll go over that in later episodes, of course, and what it was like getting called. But he really did listen, and you can, and this is where the other affirmation comes into. It's not really a prayer because it's more of just like a boundary with the universe. If you're getting too many signs and you can't handle it at the moment, or if there's too much information coming through, you can ask them, "Yo, pump the brakes for a little bit, I need a break."
Yeah,
You
like
can ask for that.
you
And I really, in one way that Bran did that was that inside of the dreams, when he came to met me, he made the ocean where you could, it was only ankle feet tall, and far off in the distance, far, far, far off in the distance, it got deep, and then there was a raven very far away. And during the daytime, it translated, and I said for him to keep a distance. So what he did, instead of coming to me in the dreams, because they told me who he was, a person at the time that was my mentor, and I was like, "What does he want with me?" He's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Well, he can keep his distance, and we'll get to know each other." So there would be a raven that would sit like so many houses down outside of my window and call out to me constantly, and I'm like, "Can you not watch me?" And he'd disappear for a while, and I'd be like, "Oh, I hope I didn't scare him away." He'd come back. And then over time, as they got more comfortable and more set inside of it, like, you can get more comfortable, and some come for reasons and lessons, and they'll move on. It's not because they have anything against you. It's just
no,
what energy they sit in and what they're meant to do. Like, you're not in your time of when you're working on your divine masculine energy. Well, then don't be surprised when a lot of divine feminines show up. And if you're not in the energy of divine feminines, but you're still in divine feminine, you're feminine, but you're in your dark feminine now. And like,
hmm
there's different areas that you need to work on. You're a work in progress. You're constantly being reshaped and molded. You are the sculptor and the sculpture.
I love that phrase. Like that you are just this never ending, ever evolving masterpiece. And there are a lot of people that get like, oh, do I always have to do work like this? It's like if you're still breathing, yeah,
Yeah,
you got work
yes,
to
that's
do.
the point. It's kind of,
But
if you stop growing, you stop. That's it. You end. That's the end.
but I
People will
get
tell you
very
when they
much.
retire and stuff like that. When you stop, your body stops with you, and that's why you'll see a lot of retired people still doing things and digging in, and they realize, they're like, "Why are you working?" They're like, "I'm not working for them now. I'm working for me."
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference between affirmations, is when people, you can wish stuff for you And you could be doing and working for other people and being like, I am a good person. I'm doing things for others. I'm doing things for others. But if you're not doing it for yourself, if you're telling people compliments and not complimenting yourself, I want to tell you today that I am just reminded of a very good point. You can get yourself some window markers and write yourself a little nice note on your mirror. You can
I
also use,
love that.
I have them in my mirror. I use different colors. You can pick whichever chakra you need to be working on at that time, and you can write an affirmation to yourself based on that. You can draw different symbols that you find that make you feel happy. You
Do
could put a
research into the
quote.
symbols.
Yes. You could put a quote, you can put whatever you like, but make sure that you're giving to yourself as much as you're giving to others because like you can't pour from an empty cup.
And it
And
doesn't
that's what
make you
affirmations
selfish.
help with is filling your cup back up.
And it,
Besides rest,
yeah,
actions do well, lack thereof action. Even inside of masterpieces and works of art even have, in the music industry and an orchestra, they even have rest. So even if you were a symphony, you
yeah.
would still need rest.
I mean, think about a story itself. If it is just action, 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 go, 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 that gets jarring and overwhelming after a while.
When are you
And
supposed to tell where the climax is? When are you supposed
exactly,
to know what?
when you have time to process the emotional trauma that you just witnessed, like those
Exactly.
lulls, those moments of quiet, they are incredibly important, but so underused in our society, either by the constraints we put on ourselves or the constraints that we put on other people. And like you could see this in a major difference between like here in America, people up north, because everything is so much more fast paced, they are so much more stressed. And then people down south, it is a very completely different vibe because there was this inherent lesson of take a minute, like front porch time. We need more front porch time in this country. I genuinely believe that. This is one thought that I've had ever since I was a child. And it's just like the memory of like after dinner, swinging on the porch, just talking, and that moment of calm, like before you go and like watch your night movie or your end of day shows or you like do your homework or whatever it is, just a moment, taking it to yourself, taking it with a loved one, hugging a tree, spending like 5 minutes just petting your dog. My dogs will do this, and I know that they do it in divine timing because I've named them after goddesses. Artemis is my mom's familiar, and Hestia is mine. And so I will be stressed and at my workstation, and then suddenly they'll just come in and just like bat me, and I'll be like, okay, I'm being told to take a break right now because I've been staring at my computer for the past 3 hours and my eyeballs
Oh,
hurt.
absolutely. Familiars definitely come through very heavily a lot. I do agree with that. I look forward to doing an episode on that in the future. Most
Yes.
definitely because um it's
I
incredible.
I'm gonna love that because there's a theory that my mom and I have bounced around with each other that Artemis and Hestia are reincarnations of pets that we've had in the past. Like,
Same with mine. That's why I look forward to that episode. There's a lot of people that I've known that's had that happen. So it just goes to show that they're here for a lesson to show us that it is true. Reincarnation happens and we haven't lost ourselves too much. We don't lose ourselves too much. Like we think that we lose ourselves. It's not that we lose ourselves. It's just that we are gaining another opportunity to have new experiences. That's the whole point. But the from their based on their personalities alone, it's
oh,
very
it's
noticeable.
very clear. Like, Artemis is the most cat-like dog in the world.
Yep. No, yeah, that's
And
I
then
feel it.
and then Hestia just carries like these same mannerisms as my childhood dog, and like Oscar, when I lost him, that's when I started down this road because I grew up in the South. Like, I'm very Southern. I don't have the accent until I get angry. But when I lost Oscar, I was distraught, and when I went to school, I was told that I would never see him again because dog souls aren't developed enough to go into heaven. And I didn't understand that at all because if heaven is a place of eternal love, why could this energy, this entity that knew nothing but love, not be allowed in? And like, my mom told me, because like my mom has always seen auras, she's always been very powerful in magic. She had told me when I had gotten older that she saw my light dying when Oscar passed, and how I just became so angry and disconnected, and she's like, I have to do something. And she slowly explained to me about paganism and about Wicca, and I finally felt like there was a reason that I was so different, that I was not accepted in the way that society was telling me that I needed to be accepted because they were trying to make me into something that I wasn't.
That's true. You never have to be anything other than what you truly are. It's my favorite quote.
Authenticity is a beautiful thing, but so difficult to find and bear sometimes. Going through that
I
journey,
think
or
it's easy. I just think the guilt is the thing that's tripping
That's
us
the
up.
that's the that's the fucking thing. Is like the guilt and the shame. And she's like, you're not selfish for saying no. You guys have to take care of that. I need some time for myself. You're not selfish when you have to refill your cup. If someone is making you feel like you're being selfish, they are the energy vampire in your life, and you need to lance
Usually the
that.
reason for the boundary in the first place.
Yeah, and if people don't respect that boundary, you do not need them in your life, and you have permission to say, Spirit, remove this person from my life and
Yeah. And
step
if
back.
you're worried about it, you can always say remove them gently. You can, there's there's
Yeah, like Spirit
you can
talks. And when you start to develop those relationships with the independent deities and the archangels and like your ancestors and ascended masters, like there are so many energies in spirit that love and support you. Like I call them my counsel.
I
And
call them my staff. You're gonna have to talk to my staff.
but like
They're on my payroll. We all sit at the round table together. No one is better than the other. Fucking sit down, look at each other.
yeah, like in my head, like my grandfathers and my grandmothers and my brother that passed before I was born, and my aunt now, God's rest her soul, they're all just kind of in this huddle house. it's it's specifically a
I
huddle.
love that.
Yeah, it's specifically a huddle house, and they're all at the island, and they're all drinking their coffee. And like my grandmother holds my brother little Rocky, and then they also hold like these souls that will become my children, because like that is one thing that I have had a beautiful opportunity to connect to, is the energy and the souls of not just the people that have come before me, but the ones that will come from me and after me. And that is an incredible opportunity that I have been given with this connection.
Amazing. I love that. And those two can all fit into affirmations as well as knowing that I am protected. I am being divinely guided.
Hmm. And then
I accept help from others. Like you can do all different types of affirmations
that's the
with that as
biggest
well.
one, the acceptance. That's the one that we don't do enough. Like when you do a Reiki video, they say you have to accept this energy. And
Yeah,
it's the same thing
because
with
if you
spirits.
don't, it's not without permission. So that's the difference between it is that there will be distortion. Distortion will obviously distort things so that it can get permission. The light isn't going to do that. The universe spirit isn't going to do that. It will ask you explicit permission. Which is like how some people this may be a little bit risky, risque. But that's why some people are encountered with BDSM and connect with spirituality in the same type of sense, is because very heavily based on consent,
Oh yeah,
and it's a good way
sexuality is
to
very.
heal and heal yourself, and through different ways of accepting yourself, right? So finding ways to accept yourself and is taking the stigmatism and the tabooness out of things that we were socialized into. As like, I know there's a lot of arguments, nature versus nurture, but it's both, and we have to navigate that, and we have to accept that at
It's
some
nature
point
versus
it's our
nurture and free will.
responsibility. Yeah, exactly. At some point, it's our responsibility. After, a certain point, you take that responsibility. You got to run with it. But yes, the acceptance one is a
Yeah,
very powerful affirmation. Is like, I accept that I am lovable.
I accept the aid that I am being offered. I accept the love
Yep.
that I am being offered. That's one that, like my last
I
relationship,
accept your compliment. I don't know why that one's the hardest, but here we go.
yeah, yeah, my last
It's
relationship over 2 years ago was the first relationship that I wasn't with a toxic motherfucker. And I sabotaged it because I was not in a place where I could accept the love that I was being offered. There's also other red flags and obvious things that would have been problems down the line of like I would have to sacrifice something of myself for his sake or vice versa, and that's not what I want. When I want a partner, I want someone that be like I'm in my shine, they're in their shine. We support each other in that, like we can cross paths and work on things together, but there's also an independence there. Like
That's
I'm
a
not.
powerful affirmation as well. It's like, I know my worth, and it's like, I I this this things that you're willing to accept and not accept, and knowing what you deserve, and like, I am stable, and it's like, I am.
And it's not easy. Like I'm 24 going on 25, and since I was 16 years old, I've been taking this a lot more seriously, and like
I'm
it's
not
not
gonna
an
age
easy path.
myself, but I will say that yes, it is an unforgiving thing to learn, especially in the density of Earth. Like,
Yes. Shit's heavy
she
here.
is very dense energies around her because she knows how to toil with them. Look at the oceans and the volcanoes. They're not to be tampered with by someone who isn't going to be able to handle it. And if you can't get in the league, then you can't take the heat. Get out of the kitchen. No, I'm kidding. But like, for real, like, you know that it's not easy for anyone. What Just because you're spiritual and you have the tools doesn't mean anything. People fall into the GI Joe fallacy, where they think that knowing is half the battle. It
Yeah.
isn't.
Like
It's not.
what are you gonna
Knowing
do with that
isn't half the
knowledge?
battle. Knowing isn't half the battle, and that's just the basics. That's just the beginning. Knowing is where you start. And that's where people get caught up in the GI Joe fallacy of thinking that, and oh, now I know, that's half of the battle done. It's like, no, now you know, now you need the tools, which are affirmations is a great tool. And
Affirmations are a great
and
tool.
then you need also acceptance. That's the second part.
And
Affirmations,
awareness.
acceptance, awareness, and then you need action. You need to take action, because if you know better and never change your actions, then that's not half. That's not even half. That's not even close to the finish
Yeah,
line
it's
of doing what you need to do.
something Bashar said. He had to correct a woman when they said that they had a habit. Just like no, it's like once you are aware it's a habit, it's a choice then.
Yep.
And like you have the awareness of something, but will you do the work to change that habit? And that's where people get
No.
stuck because that's the hard part.
Well, that's where I got started with, was for affirmations and stuff like that. I started off with taking a course for psychology on this science of well-being. And on the way of learning that, and learning that it's not, you have to take action. And then I moved on, and they taught like Whoop, which is like um, a type of, it's kind of like manifestation, really, but it's like writing out what you want to achieve, knowing what obstacles may get in your path, and but yeah, what obstacles will get in your path, and committing to it, taking proper action. Remember to take action is a big part of step, and big part of the steps of towards taking affirmation, towards taking actions, is giving yourself those affirmations in order to affirm yourself as you're taking action. Ruha.
I actually
You
want to
know,
go grab my affirmation deck and get a card before we sign off. I think that's a good idea.
absolutely. That sounds great. So yeah, affirmations is a great way to start. You can always look up affirmations shorts online and see what aligns with you the best. And of course, you can make up your own affirmations. You can go as you go along. Um, anything you want to see. You can even ask the universe with affirmations, like, universe, can you please show me where I can start eating more healthy for good prices? And I know myself, I was asking for a type of food with less of my allergies in it, food requirements.
Yeah,
And they
it's
did. They started adding it onto the thing. So tell Spirit what your list is and what
let
you
it
want to mark off
change.
of the check.
And
Yeah,
certainly don't limit yourself, but it's also going to be on you to pay attention to how they are starting to speak to you. So the
of
card that I
course.
got was Reborn. Out of the ashes you shall rise, and the tears you once shed will pave the way for all that is light and free. And from its death you will arrive at your ultimate truth, your ultimate joy.
Ooh, I love how that tied into the beginning when I was talking about Morgan with Lucky Me. It's like watering tears with the seeds that I cried.
No, that's
I love
exactly
how.
what I was thinking about when I read that. I'm like, hang on, okay.
Okay.
The
So
universe
yeah, the
hears the
universe wants
whispers.
us to know that it's listening. You are constantly being reborn, and you constantly are being reborn with
And
the
they're not going to
affirmations.
judge you. They're
No,
not going to judge you and they're not going to shame you. If you
that's not.
want a certain lifestyle, if you want a certain thing, ask them for it. And it's going to change. Like, as you change, as you allow yourself to change, your affirmations will change. What you require will change. And that's why it's so important that you speak with your truth. Like, exercise that throat chakra. Even when your voice shakes, it is so important for you to speak your truth because you will find this incredible strength that no one else can give you.
No one speaks it better than you, also. Like, be for real. If you wanted to, you can record your own affirmations if that's something that you prefer, and you can listen
Absolutely.
back to them. The same way with writing on the mirror. Like, make sure that they're wash off friendly. There's window marker types. But yeah, that's another way as well. You can record it, because listening to yourself say it is, it's like, it honestly, you'll start loving your voice more, which, if you don't like the way you sound, you're probably not going to speak up. And honestly, everyone deserves to speak up. You're all a part of the chorus.
And you're worth all the work that you will have to do. It's going to be hard, it's going to be scary, but I've gone through the fire and the flames of my own shadow, and I walk out hand in hand with her.
That's amazing. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Thank you, Kymmy,
This
for joining me. This was awesome.
Yeah. And we'll meet up again next time for episode 2, where we'll be talking about divination types and how to detect when you resonate.
Yeah, how to
Take
detect when
care,
you
everyone.
resonate and how to detect when you're channeling.